Good afternoon. We're here live with ADB with ADB Studio. Okay, ADB, if it was your world, what is one thing that you would change?
Mhm. We on there.
We're on the air
Okay.
live.
Well, for people that don't smoke, it creates cancer, and they say it's bad for your health. But one doctor told me that he had smoked for years, and he told his patient to stop smoking, but he died, before his patient died. He smoked for years. He didn't get hit by a tobacco track, but he died of cancer, and his patient got hit by a tobacco track. But back to what we were talking about.
Okay, ADB, this is 2013. What is your views on the way parents are raising their children up in this day and age?
What ghetto I mean, parents in the hood, or parents in general. I mean, parents, our parents, I mean, speaking of parents, roaches are parents too. But the fact of the matter is, as soon as you're a roach, you're just born, and I mean, you just leave the cocoon and you all for yourself. A lot of it applies to the hood too, in certain areas, because I've seen children that was born, I mean, just into a situation, that they really had no choice because, you know, you can call it guilty by association, or you can call it teach a child in the way that they may go. But as far as the way you're raising your children, it depends on what environment and what stability that you have when you're raised in a certain situation. Now, overall, I can just say what do I think about the view of what how parents is raising their children, opposed to what lifestyle, what area, what corner, what side of the world, what side of the planet, and whose household. So parents are parents. Yeah. I mean, whose parent? What parent? You know.
I hear you talk about roaches. However, they seem to be extinct because of the bed bug epidemic. What is your views on the bed bug epidemic?
Well, when you say how parents are raising their children, opposed to, you know, what generation of parents. You know, uh, you got my grandparents, my parents, their parents. The parents of the 20th century. The parents. What area, what you know, what continent. United States, the east side of Pontiac, Chicago, L.A., California. And whose parents? Black children, Mexicans, Greeks, Latinos. I can only refer to so many and so few and so far fetched, but in overall perspectives, morals, dignities. I mean, parents in general. Like I say, you know, I've seen kids, that was growing up into a situation where, you know, they just was raised in situations where until they became adults or adolescents or children, they were just raised by what type of environment, guilty by association. As far as a parent, how do I think a parent should raise a child, or what I think about the condition that parents raise their children, what in this neighborhood, or what? Just it's just a question.
Okay, moving right along. Let's go into sports. Sunday's game, Cincinnati versus the Lions in Detroit. Do you think the Lions tried their best, or was Cincinnati just too much?
You know, was Cincinnati too much? Cincinnati was too much to lose the game, and the Lions just wasn't enough to win. Yeah, or the Lions was uh, too much to not win, and just enough to lose.
Well, my resource and my producers are telling me that BenJarvus Green-Ellis, who was a free agent drafted to the New England Patriots in 2008, then then later drafted to Cincinnati, who had his first fumble in September of 2012 of his whole career. He was on there, and I think he played his best. What do you feel about BenJarvus, the lawyer
The Lord, and he's a football player.
for Cincinnati?
BenJarvus, the football player, BenJarvus.
Mhm.
He only had his fumble in 2012.
His first fumble.
Yeah, as well. I think he can hold the ball pretty good. You know what I mean? He haven't had ran into somebody that can hit him as hard as he had got hit. That particular time, and that was his first fumble. You know, yeah, things happen. When you're on the football field. You know, uh, you know, cover up the ball, hold it. More power to BenJarvus if you can continue that streak as far as holding the ball. You know, and not get hit. But I think if he continue to go about it that way before he had that fumble, you know, he can have many more games without fumbles. But I'm sure that particular fumble wouldn't have caused them losing a game if they lost the game.
Okay, BenJarvus, number 42. Do you think he played harder for Sunday's game because his family was here in Detroit, or do you think he's an all-star?
Well, I really didn't watch the game, but if your family is there during the game, you know, you would try to play your hardest or assume to play your hardest, but sometimes you may have some conscious things that may hit you while you playing a particular game. You trying to you may try to be too perfect instead of playing your own game. The way that you would normally play it. If your family is at the game and you're confident and you're at a sound mind when you're playing the game, and say, well, hey, my family's at this game. I can't let them down. But your family ain't the one getting hit and taking those shots. So, if he did take a good hit and get fumbled, I can, it could either work for your positive or your negative. How sound he was with himself, you know, uh, and how much influence that they gave him. Now, if he had certain family members that was at that game that had never showed up, that he really wanted to show up, so like your mother never been in any one of your games in this particular game, that she showed up and everybody else was showing up. You said, well, I can't get hit and get fumbled in front of my mother or something like that. Just playing your game the way you play it, so it could work at a negative or a positive when you're playing the game.
What do you think what was on his mind when he had to play Detroit and the majority of his family had migrated to Detroit and the surrounding areas? Do you think he had tried his hardest for the team or not to let his family down, knowing that they're rooting for him as a family member? However, that's their team. That's where they live.
I really don't know how I didn't really watch the game, so I really don't know how he did. But I know you mentioned the fumble. You say it was a fumble that he had, that he hadn't established a fumble within a whole year. So, if a fumble, you know, was based upon, him doing well or great, you know, it might not play a positive influence on him at that particular game at the particular time, because he was thinking about, you know, impressing somebody instead of just playing his game.
Okay, let's move on to the Green Bay. Green Bay played Sunday as well, and they won. How do you feel about Aaron Rodgers? Do you think he's the new Brett Favre, or you're not a Green Bay fan?
can't really say I'm not a Green Bay fan. Whatever, Aaron Rodgers, obviously he's a quarterback because you mentioned Brett Favre, you know, and they kick Detroit's ass, you know, like they normally do, kick their ass, you know. You know, once Detroit get over, you know, that Green Bay hump, you know, Green Bay, you know, may have their card, you know what I mean, but, you know, they possibly could have won that game, but, you know, possibly they didn't, you know, because it wasn't meant to, you know, for them to win that game. But, you know, hey, Green Bay did their thing, and the Lions did their thing, you know. Well, that was the thing that they wanted to do. I'm sure nobody wanted to lose. But, you know, they had their card, and they've been having their card for a while.
All right, one more sports question before we move on. Thanksgiving is like the pre-Super Bowl. Everyone will be tuning in to watch football. Green Bay play the Lions at Ford Field on Thanksgiving. How do you think the outlook of the game will be?
You know, the history of the Lions, you know, they usually kick a lot of ass on Thanksgiving, you know. You know, they may lose every game in the season, you know. For some reason, you know, Thanksgiving is on their side. You know, I don't know, because they make a lot of turkeys in Detroit at the time, you know, but, you know, Detroit always win games on Thanksgiving for some reason. So, you know, the Thanksgiving turkey will be on their side when they play Green Bay. They'll beat them this time.
So, in your opinion, the three-legged turkey will be at Ford Field this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to celebrity. Kanye just engaged to Kim. He rented out the stadium in New York, and only 10 people were there. However, Kim's father wasn't there. Do you think it was the father's choice, or he just did not get the invite?
You know, the father's not going to be there, you know, probably regardless of whether he got the invite or not. You know, it's his daughter, you know, which is probably, well, her father passed away, right? When did the lawyer got?
Oh,
Is Bruce Jenner her father? I mean, so
no.
they say, well, Bruce Jenner ain't going to show up.
He did not show up.
He probably won't show up. You know, he may not approve of the situation, you know, with them. You know, so I'm sure he got an invite, you know. Why wouldn't she want to invite him? You know, so yeah. You know, he just don't want to show up, you know, because he don't feel like it.
Okay. Let's move on to the Jacksons. Rumor has it that they are broke and depending on Janet's endorsements to feed them. Author, whoever black, said that the family has been laying on her endorsement from the restaurant to feed them, and they have been eating from that restaurant for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the past 2 weeks. Do you think the Jacksons are actually broke?
You know, his spirit may be broken a little bit, you know, but, you know, as far as being broke, you know, they have endorsements, they have royalties, and unless they, you know, sold their royalties and somebody else got them in their hand, you know, but, you know, as far as being broke, you know, maybe spiritually or media-wise or emotionally, sometimes maybe psychologically, but, no, they're not broke.
Okay. What about Miley Cyrus? I know you've been watching Miley. Do you think she's trying to break away from the Hannah Montana reputation? Or do you think it's pure rebellion against her mother and father? Her mother, which is a drug head.
Well,